Hello, Loftsiders, and welcome into Loftside Banter for, as I move the camera on you a little bit, just trying to straighten it all out, get everything ready to go. But we're back here at Loftside Banter, and we're going to be going over week 2. We're going to be going over some of the scores, some of the things that we saw. We're going to talk about NFL injuries that seem to keep happening, even though we've taken all these precautions to not have injuries. They're still happening. Then we'll go into some other sports news, such as baseball and Big Dumper. Once again, hitting 2 home runs and getting himself ties Ken Griffey Jr. for a Mariners record. So we'll go into all that today as I move the camera on you one more time. There we go. I like that better. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll look into a little bit of week 3 and everything else like that, and we'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the docket, so let's just start with that. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll start with the NFL. Obviously, week 2 in the books. Some surprises, some not so big surprises, some things that have obviously it's early. The NFL season is early, and we're still in that overreaction time. For me, I typically take week 4. Week 4 and after, you typically know who you are. Barring injuries, barring all that stuff, and again, we'll get into injuries and everything else like that, but week 4 used to be the logical quarter of the way through the season with 16 games. It's at 17 now, but I digress. Money, am I right? People always need money, so they need an extra game. Anyway, I still look at week 4 as kind of that breaking point. You are who you are at week 4. You've had time to establish game plans. You've had time to practice through all of the stuff. You've gotten through some injuries. You kind of know where you're at and everything else. So the teams after week 4. Right now, we're still in that, hey, one thing could happen, could lead to another, could whatever. There are some signs for some teams that are not overly positive, and we'll go into those teams. And there are some signs for teams that probably have some room to grow and probably could get better by the end of the season. And again, we'll get into all that as well. We'll start with the Thursday night game. I went into it a little bit, but the Packers look really good. Packers beat the Commanders 27-18. We have some injury news with Jaden Daniels, which is not good for me because he's on my fantasy team. But Jaden Daniels a little shaken up. The Packers look really good on all aspects of the game. Jordan Love, again, establishing himself as the top echelon quarterback. Josh Jacobs is still running the ball really well. That defense looks phenomenal. The Packers are 2-0, and 2-0. Micah Parsons' addition really, it's not the thing that elevated them to where they are. It has certainly helped because now that offensive line is very dangerous. It's just they seem to be all doing their part. Quarterback-wise, running the football, Tucker Kraft looked great receiving the ball and seemed to be wide open all the time. But that's kind of where we're at right now with them. Then we go into Sunday's games. And again, we're going to start with the Patriots because it's always the first one that pops up right here on ESPN. And thankfully, the New England Patriots were able to pull out a victory over the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are in a lot of trouble. And I said this before, with the amount of money that they're paying people and the amount of money that they're spending on a lot of the stuff, a lot of personnel, they're in a tough spot because you're not going to be able to get rid of a lot of contracts. There are going to be teams that are buying a little earlier probably, and Tyreek Hill could be on that list. Again, his off-the-field issues as well. The Dolphins need to... It doesn't seem like any aspect of their team cares to be at a game. It seems to me that Mike McDaniel, as I've mentioned before, has lost that locker room. The things that he's saying before, during a game, after a game, you win a game by not losing it. Go look up his after the game interview. It's atrocious. And I don't know if he's lost, the ability to think that he's got endless rope because he doesn't. Tua played pretty well as far as, but the Patriots' pass defense has sucked. And Christian Gonzalez needs to come back sooner rather than later, or else they're going to be giving up tons and tons of passing yards. 315 yards, 26 of 32, 2 touchdowns, threw a bad interception towards the end of the game. Devon Achane, 11 carries, 30 yards, not good enough. Offensive line obviously is not in a great spot for the Miami Dolphins. They had 2 new starters this week because of injuries and stuff like that. I mean, Tyreek Hill, 6 receptions, 109 yards. He did what he needed to do. The defense couldn't stop anything. Made Drake May look far and beyond better than where I think he is as far as a professional. But Drake May, 19 of 23, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 230 yards. That is mistake-free football from Drake May. Looks really good. And looks like he's growing and looks like everything else like that. 11 carries, 54 yards for Ramondre Stevenson. Also had 5 receptions for 88 yards. He's starting to catch the ball out of the backfield, which is great. And again, he's a bruising back, and this is something that is added to his game, it seems, a little bit more. Milton Williams, 2 sacks. I mean, huge contract. Looks really good. Looks like he deserves every penny. Jalen Hawkins got his 2nd interception of the year. I'm sorry, he had one. He had that taken away. It was Montre Mapu. Again, names are. But similar. The thing that concerns me about the Patriots is 12 penalties. The Dolphins had 10, so the refs got a lot of camera time for this game. But New England moves into 2nd place. Both the Jets and Miami are 0-2. The Buffalo Bills are far and away the best team in this division, and I don't think it's going to come to any surprise. The other thing that concerns me with the Patriots is Andrew Borregales. He's got to get missing extra points is not acceptable at this level. He hit a 53-yarder, which saved his job probably, and he hit another 22-yard. Again, at PAT distance, he hit a field goal. But they can't worry about trotting him out or not trotting him out when there's time to kick a football. We had 2 touchdowns within 12 seconds, a punt return, which looked like a lot of block in the backs. Just, I thought I'd throw that out there for the criticism of the refs. Granted, they were on screen most of the time anyway. And then Antonio Gibson ran the ensuing kickoff back, which was exciting for me. But finding a way to win was something the Patriots couldn't do last year. The Dolphins are at a point where finding a way to lose seems like they're always going to be in that aspect. Like they're going to be in close games. You're going to wonder if they're going to find a way to lose. So, where do the Dolphins go from here? I think Mike McDaniel's done no matter what at the end of the year. Unless they turn it around and they win all the rest of their games, I think that there's a lot of loss of respect for him in that locker room. And again, they have talent. They have the talent there. Tua a couple of years ago before a bunch of injuries looked really good. And again, he didn't play bad. But here we are talking about a Miami Dolphins loss again. And this is the first time Tua's lost to the Patriots. And this is one of the few times the Patriots win in Miami, especially when it's still a little bit warmer. But with that said, I'm happy with the win. As long as the Patriots are growing throughout the season, I'm happy as a fan. Again, we weren't expecting a whole lot of Super Bowl contention from the Patriots this year. Now, do we think we're going to be much better than what they've kind of shown so far? Sure. But it is what it is. Second game at 1 o'clock was the Los Angeles Rams went on the road and beat the Tennessee Titans 33-19. A little bit closer than probably some people expected. It was 13-10 at halftime, and Tennessee was winning. And then they proceeded to just get 6 points the rest of the way. Matthew Stafford, 23 of 33, 2 touchdowns and interception, 298 yards. Again, still playing well for the fact that he didn't play in the preseason. Kyron Williams ran the ball decently, 17 carries, 66 yards. Devontae Adams, 6 receptions and a touchdown, over 100 yards. Cam Ward, 19 of 33, a touchdown, no interceptions. Again, something to take positive out of this for the Tennessee Titans is that Cam Ward didn't make mistakes. Tony Pollard ran for nearly 100 yards. Calvin Ridley looked okay with 3 receptions. It was, again, the offense didn't gain a ton of yards for Tennessee. 252 yards. Almost 200 more yards is what the Rams got, 439. So you can see the difference in the offenses already. You have Matthew Stafford, who threw a 45-yard, who had Puka run a 45-yard touchdown. I'm trying to look it down all the stats. Penalties a big thing for Tennessee, 10 penalties to 4. First downs were almost the same. Turnovers were the same. Fourth down conversions were the same. Red zone. And Tennessee had the ball more by almost a minute. So, red zone, they were 1 of 3, Tennessee. So, 33% of the time they were converting anything in the red zone. Not good enough. The Rams were 3 of 6. So, 50% to 33%. Obviously, a difference there. And obviously, the amount of times that they were in there. So, field position, all that different stuff for Tennessee. Again, Tennessee was going to struggle this year anyway. It was seeing what Cam Ward could do, because I wasn't overly sold on Cam Ward, but some mistake-free football in this game. Didn't have an interception week 1 either. So if he's going to be a guy that's just not going to make mistakes, okay, Tennessee can deal with that and grow over the next few seasons. As a rookie, that's what you're looking for, just less mistakes. So maybe there's something there with Cam Ward, more than I have given him credit for. But the Rams, again, 2-0, Tennessee. Next game, and this one's a little difficult because not knowing what's going to happen now with the Bengals. So the Bengals at home win 31-27 over Jacksonville. The Jaguars, inconsistencies, constant inconsistencies throughout the team. Liam Cohen's going to have to figure out how to fix that. Trevor Lawrence, 24-42, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The 2 interceptions are inexcusable for a guy of Trevor Lawrence's capacity and how good he can be. He constantly is making mistakes, and they keep constantly changing out things around him, his weapons, his running back, wide receivers, all these different things, and he still is constantly making these mistakes. Parker Washington was his leading receiver. 5 receptions, 76 yards, and that's all the receptions and yardage he has for the year. Travis Etienne, 14 carries, 71 yards. The thing with the Bengals, and they should have lost this game. Joe Burrow gets hurt. He gets turf toe, which is a horrible name for an injury. And it rarely has to do with the toe itself. It's actually, and not a doctor, play one on TV, that's besides the point, is where your plantar fasciitis kind of starts out at the bottom of the foot, that tendon, it starts to come off the front towards your toes. And that's what the injury is. So right under the ball of your foot, there is a tendon that attaches there. If it starts to rip or whatever, that is what turf toe is. So it's not actually your toe, give or take, but there are different grades to it. And obviously a rip is grade 3. That's what Joe Burrow has, and he's out for 3 months. It's a tough blow for the Bengals, because when you have an upper echelon quarterback, such as Joe Burrow, and you get an injury to that person, and you've put a lot of eggs in that basket, the air flies right out of that building. I hope that whistle doesn't go too loud for people listening. But the air just fizzles out of that building, and people on defense start to wane a little bit because, well, we're going to be on the field more, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that. Jake Browning, 3 interceptions after he came in, doesn't bode a ton of confidence for the Bengals. I'm going to go see what. So they added 2 quarterbacks to their practice squad. Sean Clifford, who was the backup in Green Bay for a few years. He's in his 2nd season. He was a 5th-round pick out of Penn State. Hasn't really done much to really be a starter anywhere. Again, he was behind Jordan Love last year. So, it is what it is. And Mike White, who's been a starting quarterback, he's in his 6th season. I'm trying to find his career stats here, because he started some games. So he's been in the league since, like I said, his 6th season, since 2018. He played 4 games for the Jets in 2021, 5 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Not great. 2022 played in 4 games, lower completion percentage, better touchdown to interception ratio, where he had 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He played 6 games last year for Miami, but only threw 6 passes, had a touchdown, had an interception. And then last year for Buffalo, 3 completions and 11 attempts, didn't throw any. So he hasn't had the most spectacular career in games that he's played in. He's obviously hasn't played a ton of time. I think he's thrown 300 total passes in 6 years. So he's had some experience in that aspect, just not a lot. He's been sacked 13 times, so he's been hit quite a bit. These are the guys they brought on the practice squad. Jake Browning is going to be the guy going forward. Again, the 3 interceptions are not really something that gives you a whole lot of confidence. He did have 2 touchdown passes, and they did win the game. So they still found a way to win. He still has all these weapons, but there are other guys out there that I think they can explore. And I don't want to go too in-depth with the Bengals because we're going to talk about this a little bit with the injuries, but Jameis Winston being the 3rd quarterback in the Giants' depth chart, I would kick the tires on that. Jameis Winston, with those weapons, is going to be throwing the ball everywhere. Now, Jameis Winston is going to throw interceptions. But if you can trade a late-round pick for Jameis Winston to come in and be your quarterback for the rest of this year, because 3 months brings you right up until the playoffs. If Jake Browning is not the guy, I say make this move quicker than you possibly can. Anthony Richardson, the backup. Now, Daniel Jones seems like he's settled as the starter for the Colts for the rest of the year. Now, if he goes down, Anthony Richardson, depending on what he's picked up or if he's improved any, is a solid number 2, especially still on a rookie contract. But there are some guys out there that you can throw some late-round draft picks for and probably get. Anthony Richardson's probably going to cost a little bit more. He's younger. Jameis Winston being older, being on the 3rd string, being the guy that's not going to pretty much supplant Jackson Dart at this point. So, again, there's guys out there. Jake Browning, if I look over, Joe Burrow's had some injury issues throughout his career. He's missed a few games in 2023 and 2022, missed some games in 2023, played all of last year, was phenomenal because obviously he was the leading passer in the NFL. They just couldn't stop anybody on defense. The defenses looked a little bit better. They've been able to hold and do different things at this point. But Jake Browning, throughout his career, in 2023, he played 9 games, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Okay, so better touchdown, whatever. Played 3 games last year, didn't throw a pass. It was more kneel-down situations this year. So he's, in his career, 69% completion percentage, a high completion percentage by him. So smart, knows what to do with the ball sometimes. Over 2,000 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So he's been competent, especially in a 9-game sample size for the Bengals in 2023. Keeping him around for this long means you have confidence in him, means everything else as far as, hey, we're going to move forward with you. But I think he's got a short leash at this point. With the weapons they have, getting a guy like Jameis or getting somebody else who's available, I think Jameis is really the only one that you probably take over Browning right now because he can throw the ball everywhere. It's just how many more mistakes can you afford to take with Jameis rather than Jake Browning. So it's a tough situation for the Bengals. I think they're going to go right up into the playoffs, and then if they're in it at all, I mean, Joe's coming back. But it's going to be, he's not going to have a lot of time to turn on the playoff, Joe Burrow. All right, next game. Not a close game in any means. Ravens at home get their first win of the season, 41-17 over the Cleveland Browns, who fall to 0-2. Joe Flacco, 25 of 45, touchdown interception, under 200 yards passing. You're playing a very good team. So Lamar Jackson, 19 of 29, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 225 yards. Didn't have to throw the ball all that far to get, Derrick Henry looked human, 11 carries, 23 yards, again, on my fantasy team, and that sucked. Zay Flowers, leading receiver. Quinshon Judkins got his first game time, 10 carries, 61 yards, so over 60 yards a carry. They just were behind all the time, so you couldn't really run him as much as you wanted. The Browns had more total yards, had more first downs, had more third down, what am I looking for? Converted on third down more often. Were 2-2 in the red zone and had the ball more and got destroyed. So if you're the Browns, why is Joe Flacco your starting quarterback at this point? I understand we're in week 2. I understand that you want to say, hey, we're going to turn things around. We're going to do this. Joe's the guy to do that. Dylan Gabriel ended up coming into this game going 3 for 3, threw a touchdown. So Joe Flacco's over 40 years old. He's not your quarterback pretty much past this year. I can't see that. So Dylan Gabriel or Shador should be playing. Oh, there goes the cat right behind me that everybody can see. Welcome. Welcome to the loft. Little kitty. But Dylan Gabriel, if he's the guy that you drafted to be the future. Shador as well, who was supposed to be a first-round pick. And there's other news stories coming out that the Ravens wanted to bring him in, draft him. And he said, no, I don't want to back up Lamar Jackson. Well, now you're backing up 2 quarterbacks in Cleveland, which is a worse situation for you. So don't understand that. I don't understand why the Cleveland Browns are operating this way. And again, what do I know? But if you drafted a guy to be your starter or to be the next person, you got to throw him out there and see what happens. I understand the confidence aspect of it. We've seen it with, Mac Jones and other quarterbacks like that once they lose their confidence, they're done. And we'll get into Mac Jones in a second. But Joe Flacco, let's take a look at what he's done this year. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. His QBR is 36.7. 489 yards, 10th in the NFL, and he's 28th in QBR. He's 40 years old. He's not going to be around forever. Why are we trying to force Joe Flacco as the guy in Cleveland? I don't understand. I think it's a poor way of managing it. And again, maybe you give him a few more weeks for Dylan Gabriel to feel better. I mean, he didn't look great in the preseason, or Shador, or whoever. But one of these guys has got to take over. Because if you're just going to keep them there the whole season, a waste of time. A waste of their time to not getting playing time and everything else, and a waste of our time to having to watch Joe Flacco continue to this. And Joe Flacco looked great for the Browns a few years ago. Brought you to the playoffs. And again, that wasn't a building block. That was somebody coming in off the street that you needed to have because of all the injuries you had at quarterback. And we're talking about 2 to 3 years later now. Right? I mean, it's at least 2 years since then. It's just, you play the younger guys, see what you have, and go from there. You're going to be at the top of the draft anyway in a more quarterback-heavy draft, I think, this year. Just, the Browns operate in such a way that really confuses me. Constantly. So I'm sorry for Cleveland fans, but this seems like it's just destined to be what it is, and that's, you're going to be at the top of the draft next year, bottom of the standings, and you haven't developed really anything. And, Dylan Gabriel comes in and does really well in a short situation. Yeah, is that something to get super excited about? Probably not, but here we are. Next, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. The Bills on the road go to New York, play the Jets, win 30-10. And for how good the Jets looked in week 1, even in a loss, they looked just as bad this week. And now other injuries and stuff like that. Tyrod Taylor had to take over from Justin Fields. Justin Fields was 3 of 11 for 27 yards. And then now it looks like he has a concussion. So the New York Jets are turning to Tyrod Taylor. 7 of 11, 56 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the Jets are what they are. I had more confidence in Justin Fields. I had more confidence in the fact that they looked decent even against even a loss last week, something to grow on. The Bills are a different story. And the Steelers may not. And again, I've said the Steelers don't scare me, and maybe we're at that point already. We'll find out because I'll be at the game when they play the Patriots this weekend. Josh Allen, 14 of 25, 148 yards. And I think he broke his nose during this game. But 21 carries for James Cook, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, 403 total yards. The Jets 154. That's the explanation right there. Offense can't move the ball whatsoever. The defense couldn't stop anything. 25 first downs to 11. Penalties wise, they're even. The Jets were 0 for 11 on third down. Not going to win NFL games if you can't convert on third down. Plain and fucking simple. Jets are not going to be anything good unless they can convert any third downs. They were 3 for 3 on fourth down. That's great, right? Time of possession was 17 minutes. So the Bills are going to win this division easily. It's a very down year for the AFC East. 3 of the teams could potentially have losing records at the end of the year. The Bills are not going to be one of them. Next, San Francisco 49ers come to New Orleans and beat the Saints 26-21. The Saints are going to be that scrappy team. A team that looked like they were destined to be the number 1 overall pick, and they still very much can be, and they're still going to struggle a lot of the time and for long parts of a game. Only losing by 5 and only losing by 7 the first 2 games. So better than I expected. Spencer Rattler, 25 of 34, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Only 207 yards, but 3 touchdowns nonetheless. Alvin Kamara nearly ran for 100 yards, outgained Christian McCaffrey by a ton. Mac Jones was 26 of 39 with 3 touchdowns. Oh, Mac Jones must be back. Everybody relax. Mac Jones not playing a team like the Saints is going to struggle. I'm happy that he's had some success. Again, I did not like the way he played in New England. I was glad when he left. I was glad that they decided not to keep him around. I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he's a great NFL quarterback. I don't think there's much he can do to change my mind. Other than going out and winning a Super Bowl with this team, which he's not going to do because when Brock Purdy comes back, he's going to take back the job. But happy for Mac Jones that he looked like he belonged, at least for a game, against a bad team. You know, looking over his statistics as well for his career. There we go. 57 touchdowns, 44 interceptions. He just, again, last year, Jacksonville, 8-8. Again, I'm glad that he's found something. Better weapons, better offensive line, better opportunities. Totally get it. Totally understand why he played well. I'm just saying for San Francisco fans, and I'm saying for NFL fans in general, don't expect this week to week. Confidence may grow a little bit. Great. Awesome. Don't think he's going to put up these types of numbers week in and week out. It's not going to happen. And then when Brock Purdy comes back, Brock Purdy comes back. Sorry. There's not a whole lot that he's going to be able to do unless Brock Purdy comes back and really struggles, barring whatever injury or whatever. Again, closer game than expected. The Saints, as poorly as they may play for long stretches, are in games at the end. So I think they're going to steal a game or two, and we're really going to have this conversation of who's going to be running for the number 1 pick. Right now, the Jets are up there, the Saints are up there, the Browns are up there. So those are the 3 mainstays for the number 1 overall pick. A classic of a game between the Cowboys and the Giants. Now, Russell Wilson, I've said is past it. I still believe he's past it, and I will not change off of this, even though he threw for 450 yards. They still find ways to lose. The Giants are that bad, and they don't have the guy to do the things that they need him to do to win football games. And yes, he had, again, a great game. The defense of the Cowboys isn't the most stout, isn't the best. So good for Russell Wilson to take advantage of whatever. And Dak Prescott still took advantage of a bad defense. Javonte Williams looked like Javonte Williams. Ran for nearly 100 yards, got another touchdown. CeeDee Lamb looks fantastic. Kenny Clark got a sack, the guy they got for Micah Parsons. All right, that looks good. Giants had more total yards. Cowboys had more first downs. Penalties-wise, 14 to 12. 160 yards in penalties for the Giants. Again, bad teams will do that. The Cowboys, 106 yards. Not saying they're a bad team, but they're not a great team. And then it took... the Giants had the lead at the end of this game and had this game in hand. But who was it? Is his name Bryce Aubrey? Brandon Aubrey. There we go. Brandon Aubrey kicks a 64-yard field goal to tie this game and send it into overtime. It looked very weird to have a kicker on the other side of that star lining up for a field goal. But Brandon Aubrey is the best kicker in the game right now for total distance that he can do and accuracy and everything else like that. There's a few other guys there close by, but Brandon Aubrey looks fantastic. He should be the number one kicker off the board. But overtime win for the Dallas Cowboys. They're 1-1. Giants are 0-2. Next, the get right game. As I mentioned, Lions 52 winning at home against the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Bears look like the Chicago Bears. And for all this back and forth with all the improvements and stuff like that, they're not anywhere closer. And Caleb Williams has more questions than answers right now. And I don't foresee that changing that much anytime soon. I don't. Jared Goff, 5 touchdowns, 23 of 28, 334 yards. Caleb Williams, 19 of 30, 2 touchdowns and an interception. It was a bad interception as well. It was just the ball being thrown away, and he threw it almost right to a defender. It's not like he's taking chances down the field and he's getting interceptions off that. It's on plays that he's flushed out of the pocket, and he's just trying to throw it away, or he's just trying to make something happen, and he makes a poor decision. That's the way it is, man. And that's, I mean, Rome Odunze looked good, had 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns. But, I mean, anybody other than Rome Odunze, he threw for about 80 yards. 79 to be exact. 79 yards to everybody else that wasn't named Rome Odunze. Total yards, 511 to 339. 2 turnovers by the Bears. Red zone, the Lions were 6 of 7 in the red zone. It's just one of those things right now that the Bears can't get out of their own way. And this is what I didn't want for the Patriots, and I'm sorry for Chicago fans. They have to continuously go through this. You're on a part of a four-year rebuild at this point under Ryan Poles. Boston College guy, love Ryan Poles. You have made some poor picks. Ozzie Trapilo was your second-round pick out of Boston College to compete for a swing tackle position, whether he's playing left or right. Healthy scratch. Your second-round defensive lineman, healthy scratch. These are not guys that are contributing to this team, these high picks. And this is what we saw, and I compare it to Bill Belichick in the last few years. They were not picking people that helped out in any way, shape, or form. And that's where I keep saying the Bills, the Bears are right now. Caleb Williams, for all the weapons that he has right now and a redone offensive line, is not the guy. And I think we'll see past week 4. Like I said, week 4 is my kind of that cutoff point. I don't see it changing really anytime soon. looking at the Bears' schedule, they have Dallas at home, and Dallas offense looks good. So the Raiders after that in Las Vegas. Potential first win. I don't foresee them beating the Cowboys. I don't. The Raiders they're not great. And, only winning by 7 against the Patriots, fine. Patriots week 1 look like shit. No problem. Then you go into a bye week where it's very early, and if you're going to make adjustments, you're going to have to do them now. At the Commanders when they come back on Monday Night Football. Sunday against the Saints, that's probably a win. At Baltimore, at Cincinnati, we don't know what Cincinnati's going to be. This is going to be a 4-win team. Maybe a 5-win team. Browns, I see on there. Minnesota, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy went out. But Chicago fans, I feel for you. I do. Because this is 4 years into a rebuild, and you're nowhere closer. Nowhere closer. And as of right now, Caleb Williams, I don't think is even selected 3rd overall if you redraft. Jaden, I think Drake is up there still, but I don't think Caleb Williams is even in that top 3 anymore. He's got to find a way to make it click, and he just hasn't done it. Seattle went on the road and beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh 30-17. This was what I thought the Steelers were going to be, was something like this. Now, they could come back and look great next week. But they did not look good against Seattle. Seattle and Sam Darnold didn't play overly well. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in 22 of 33 passing. Aaron Rodgers was 18 of 33, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. So by far worse. We had a touchdown by Kenneth Walker. Jalen Warren didn't really run over 50 yards. And then we had this absolutely boneheaded play. And if you didn't see it, go look it up. Caleb Johnson, the first round pick or the first pick for the Steelers, sorry, he was their 3rd round pick, was on the kickoff. They had just scored a field goal, the Seahawks. Kickoff goes, it bounces over him, and he walked away from it, not knowing what the rules are in the NFL for this kickoff system. That comes down to coaching. Sorry, Mike Tomlin, that's coaching. And I understand that you're not necessarily the guy that's teaching every single little detail of special teams, but you're the head coach. Falls on you. You are accountable for that. Ball rolls into the end zone. Seattle goes and just dives on it. Touchdown. Just like that. 10 points. They had just kicked the field goal, kickoff, then a touchdown on a boneheaded mistake from Caleb Johnson. And I'm sure he'll be all right going forward. He'll learn from the mistake and whatever. He's a rookie. Understand. But that comes down to coaching. And if coaching is not going to be in a good spot for this team, especially with Aaron Rodgers probably past it, probably with some of the guys on defense probably a little bit past it, this team's in trouble. And again, I told you, they don't scare me. We'll see what happens next week. Fine. And again, the measuring tool for the Patriots against the Steelers, it shows where they'll be. They obviously beat a bad Jets team. They lost to a okay Seattle team. Now, it will kind of show week 3 almost to that week 4 cutoff that I like to use, where they are comparative to two of the teams that are probably not playoff contenders quite yet with the Jets and the Patriots. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, Sam Darnold played better than what he did. Defense looked really good for the Seattle Seahawks. And again, Mike McDonald is a defensive guy, so that should always be the case. But they looked really good on that side. So Seattle may have some life to them coming up over the next few weeks. Interesting ending to the Denver game. The Broncos go to Indianapolis to play the Colts. 29-28, Indianapolis last-second field goal because of a 15-yard penalty at the end of the game. Bo Nix, 3 touchdowns, 1 really bad interception towards the end of the game. Looked better. Again, sophomore slump, whatever we want to say, looked better from that. Doesn't seem like if he plays this way, I think he's all right. But that bad interception still is going to stick kind of in the back of my mind here. Daniel Jones, 23 of 34, 1 touchdown. 25 carries for Jonathan Taylor, 165 yards. Looked like the Jonathan Taylor of old before he got injured a few years ago. No sacks for the Indianapolis defense. They had more total yards. They had more first downs. They had more penalties. They had more third down conversions. More time in possession. For a team that was playing against a very good defense, I mean, Daniel Jones looks really good. And again, solidified in that spot. So does that mean Anthony Richardson becomes trade bait? Does that mean, what does that mean? Tyler Warren looked good, rookie tight end. Again, it wasn't a bad game. So the penalty at the end of the game was a 60-yard field goal with a rookie kicker, I believe. Let me see. I just want to make sure I get the guy's name. Spencer Schrader. Spencer Schrader is in his second season out of Notre Dame. So 60-yard field goal. Chances are already not that great. He's not Brandon Aubrey, right? 60-yard field goal at the end of the game. Kick goes up. It's no good. The defensive tackle, nose tackle on special teams, so a long snapper, because his head is down and he's not looking up, he's considered in a defenseless position. You cannot touch the back of that long snapper or hoist yourself up or whatever, which is what the nose tackle did. He hoisted himself up to try to block it. Can't do that because you can cause injury to a defensive player. I understand the penalty is called leverage, which sounds terrible, but it is a penalty nonetheless. Don't know if it necessarily should have been called. He did touch him on the back. He did try to hoist himself up. Understand it's pretty much a gut call at the end of a game. But the Broncos lose because of it. And again, that comes down to coaching. Not that Sean Payton's a bad coach. Not that Mike Tomlin, as I mentioned, was a bad coach. We're at a point where they've been coaching for a long time that if they're missing these things or these things are being missed and explained or not explained to people, that's bad coaching. And for people that have been in the league for as long as those two have, to miss those things or not have your team prepared for that, that's on you. You're the accountable one. I don't think Indianapolis has punted in 2 games. They did not punt in the first 2 games. That should tell you how good the offense has been clicking under Daniel Jones. No punts in 2 games. And I know there's a statistic out there, it's the first time ever and whatever. I don't have that in front of me, so look it up for yourselves. But it is the first time it's happened since God knows when that a team has not had to punt in 2 games. Or even the first 2 games. Next, the 2-0 Arizona Cardinals, because they won 27-22 over the Carolina Panthers. A little bit better of a game for Bryce Young. Kyler Murray goes through stretches of like 3 or 4 plays where you're like, holy crap, this guy is amazing. Why don't I hear about this more? And then does something dumb and reverts back to, oh yeah, this is why. The interception was a terrible play. He had just run for like 30 or 40 yards the play before or 2 plays before, whatever it was, and threw a bad interception. You know, Arizona 2-0, and I know what I said at the beginning of the year, but they've played 2 pretty bad teams in the Carolina Panthers and the Saints, and they've only won by a combined score of 12 points, which oddly enough is the same differential of losing for the Saints. They've lost by a total of 12 points in 2 games. You have San Francisco and Seattle up next. That'll give you a good litmus test of kind of where they are. If Brock Purdy is back, or even if Mac Jones plays half as well as he did this past week, Mariners have a lot of talent, and they're in San Francisco for that. They're at home against Seattle, who just played really well against the Steelers. Then you go into the Titans, which you should win that game. The Colts, I don't think you're beating the Colts at this point. The Packers, I don't think you're coming anywhere close to the Packers. The Cowboys again. What team is going to show up? What kind of offense is going to show up? You got Seattle again, 49ers, Jacksonville, the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Texans, the Falcons, all teams that are probably in that same mix. So this could go from a 2-0 start to a 2-7 start, or a 2-7 through 9 games, or whatever it may be. But they're 2-0. You can't take that away from them. They're 2-0. They found ways to win both times. Bad teams, good teams, doesn't matter. Bryce Young, 35 of 55, 3 touchdowns, interception, 328 yards of passing. So again, throwing a lot towards the end of the game and everything else. Calais Campbell gets the sack with 26 seconds left to secure the game. Calais Campbell, well, doesn't age apparently, nothing like that. Tet McMillan, 6 catches, 100 yards. There are pieces in place here for this team. They just, again, bad teams find a way to lose. That's where they're at. Their bad teams are finding a way to lose, and that answers whether they're a good team or a bad team or whatever the case may be. But Arizona, 2-0, can't take it away from them. Then we go to the Philadelphia Eagles are 2-0 as they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 0-2. And I said at the beginning of the year the Chiefs were going to struggle early on. They've played 2 really good teams. Again, the Chiefs can win all the rest of the games the rest of this year. We know what they're capable of. They just haven't looked good at all. Patrick Mahomes is your leading rusher. He was your leading rusher on Sunday. Jalen Hurts threw for 101 yards. And I don't know if anybody saw the chirp at the end of the game of Chris Jones saying, oh, you barely threw over 100 yards. And Jalen Hurts says, but we won the game. So shut up. Like, what's the point of bringing that up? Oh, well, you only threw for just over 100 yards. Okay, yeah. A lot of screens, a lot of slants, a lot of stuff like that. No real down-the-field tries. You know, Devontae Smith was your leading rusher with 53 yards. Again, that's over half. But the offense has got to open up a little bit in Philadelphia, or they're going to run into some trouble moving the football. I mean, they almost gave this game away. Another tush-push touchdown to win the game in the fourth quarter. Let's see, Jake Elliott, 2 50-plus yard field goals. Tyquan Thornton has looked pretty good for this team. I'm going to go to the Chiefs real quick, because the thing that's going to drive me nuts is the fact that Tyquan Thornton is having success, and again, with a better quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is much better than Mac Jones, much better than Drake May. We understand that. 4 receptions, 100 yards in the regular season. He's got a touchdown. Again, a 49-yard touchdown. He's a speedster. That's what he was drafted to be, was a speedster. He needed some growing, and he eventually has been able to get that. Was on a practice squad last year for most of the year. Now he's starting with injuries and stuff like that. Great. Good for Tyquan Thornton. Sucks this with the Kansas City Chiefs. But I don't think he's going to be a guy that's top echelon of the NFL. I just don't. Philadelphia, again, open up your offense. You got to open up your offense a little bit. You know, yes, the tush push. What I don't give a shit about the tush push. Here's my thought about it. If you hate it, stop it. You are professional football players. You are professional coaches. You are everything else. Is the play a false start? Is the play this? Is the play who gives a shit? Figure out a way to stop it. If there's I have this part of me that looks about it and people talking about, oh, should we make an illegal play? Should we do this? Should we do that? They did this to the Patriots after they won against the Rams and all the Super Bowls they won. They were doing all these different things and they changed rules that the Patriots were exploiting, or whatever the case may be, during the time that they were winning. Stop changing rules. Stop implementing things that makes things. If we're talking about safety and everything else like that, we're talking about injuries. We're going to talk about injuries that still come up and everything else. Stop changing rules because teams can't. Oh, we can't stop the tush push. I hate the tush push. Oh, the referees don't like the tush push. Then figure out a way to stop it. Either make it something that nobody can run, or figure out a way to stop it. The Bills tried it last year and couldn't run it. Great offense like that couldn't run the tush push. They tried it how many times against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs and failed. It's Philadelphia. If the Eagles have found a way to exploit a 4th and 1, 4th and goal goal line, whatever. Good for them. Am I annoyed that my team didn't think of it? Absolutely. But am I going to say, oh, we should make it illegal? Oh, we got to make it illegal. And they're going to come up with, the safety thing. It's a safety thing. Shut up. Figure out a way to stop it. If you can't stop it, shut up. Figure it out. Do I know what it takes to stop it? I don't. My solution would be take every person that weighs 300 pounds plus on your team and put them on the line. Offensive tackle, offensive guard, whoever. Put them on the line and push the people out of the way. Does that open up to other things where they could just fake it and throw the ball? Absolutely. But I don't want to hear this. Oh, we don't like the tush push. We don't like it. We don't like it. That's because you can't stop it. We have to stop. The NFL has to stop putting things in place that, oh, well, teams can't stop it. Competitive advantage. Oh, it's a health and it's a safety thing. Let them run it until someone figures out how to stop it. Because then they want to come up with a wrinkle after that. Great. That's what you're trying to make them do. We've run the tush push twice, but it's not working. We have to come up with a wrinkle now. That's what innovation is for any of this game. That's how innovation has come up for any of this game. But yet we're sitting here talking about a stupid 1-yard play. Oh, we can't stop it. Done. Shut up then. We're running up the score. See, I never agreed with that either. Oh, they're running up the score. Then stop them. Just shut up and try to stop it. It's simple to me. It's absolutely simple to me. And again, it's not like it's a simple solution because again, I couldn't begin to tell you how to stop it other than throw the heavy people on the line and just let's see what happens. Sunday Night Football was the Atlanta Falcons traveling to Minnesota and winning 22-6. J.J. McCarthy goes down with an injury. Didn't look like the same J.J. McCarthy at the second half of last game. Now, to me, it's a coin flip of how this year is going to go. Injured, didn't look great. Again, there's going to be growing pains with him. So if Minnesota struggles the rest of this year and J.J. McCarthy is coming along slowly, I think that's okay for Minnesota fans. I don't think there was really any huge aspirations for him. Yeah, he could have come up and been a gunslinger. He's not as of yet. He goes through stretches, just like rookies do. Obviously not playing last year. This would be his rookie season, essentially. Michael Penix looks pretty good. Again, only threw for 335 yards. Not blowing people away. Bijan Robinson woke up. 22 carries, 143 yards. Defense has looked fairly good for the Atlanta Falcons. And a lot of this has to do with they couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback. 1.5 sacks for Zach Harrison. 3rd-round pick a couple years ago, starting now as a defensive end. All right, these are the guys you need to step up. Getting pressure on the quarterback, especially a young quarterback, those are the things that you need. Right? Again, 6 total points for the Vikings is, you have Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones is out now for a little while. Jordan Mason is the guy that's going to step in and be the guy. But again, I think Minnesota is probably, and we're talking about Carson Wentz now. Carson Wentz has not looked good in how many years? From the Eagles, the end of the Eagles tenure to the Colts to wherever else he's fucking been the last few years. Now he's the starter for the Minnesota Vikings. Is this kind of a thing? See, now Kevin O'Connell has made guys look better after being written off. Sam Darnold is the prime example of that. So can he do it with Carson Wentz? Carson Wentz was very talented early on in his career with Philadelphia. Looked like a top echelon quarterback, or at least on his way to being. And then he dropped off after injuries. So if Carson Wentz is the next one up, this is going to prove if Kevin O'Connell is that quarterback whisperer. And I think we'll have other opportunities elsewhere other than Minnesota starting next year if he can prove that he can mold Carson Wentz into a serviceable quarterback again. I've talked a lot of football so far. The two Monday night games, still don't know why they had two Monday night games, but that's okay. 20-19 win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the second straight week. Baker Mayfield looked great in crunch time in 2-minute drills. Didn't look good any other time. CJ Stroud, 207 yards. Again, not putting it all together. Had a better game than we've seen from him with less mistakes and everything else like that. But the Buccaneers moved to 2-0. The Houston Texans are 0-2. And this was the team I thought was going to run away with the AFC South. Now it looks like it's going to be the Colts. No turnovers on any team. 25 first downs to 12. Again, offense not doing what they need to be doing for the Houston Texans. And then the Chargers come out and beat in the late game to move to 2-0, beating the Raiders at home. Herbert, 19 of 27, 2 touchdowns, no mistakes there. Also ran for the most yardage. Ashton Genty, 11 carries, 43 yards. On my fantasy team, not good enough. Geno Smith, 3 interceptions. That's what I expected from Geno Smith. Not to be picking people apart like he did against the Patriots. So, 317 total yards of 218. Again, that's just the difference in the offenses, difference in the talent level right now. Time of possession, basically the same, everything else like that. We're looking at two teams right now that are probably on two different ends of the spectrum. The Raiders are going to be more towards the end of the AFC West. I think the Chargers and the Denver Broncos have a legitimate shot at winning this division because Kansas City hasn't looked good. Now they're 0-2. Again, we know Kansas City can be the best team in the league with the talent they have. They just need to put it all together. Right? So we've noticed a lot of notable injuries from this week. And we talked about Joe Burrow and his turf toe. J.J. McCarthy is out. Let's see if I can figure out what he had. But J.J. McCarthy seems like he's going to be out for a little while. We now have Justin Fields out with a concussion, it seems to be. The panic level, I've taken a look at kind of like NFL or CBS Sports and stuff like that. Panic level for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals is pretty high. I mean, Joe Burrow to Jake Browning is not a trade-off you wanted to make at the beginning of the season. Justin Fields' panic level, it's there. It's just, again, the Jets I don't think were projected to really be anything. Jaden Daniels suffered a knee injury in the Week 2 loss to the Packers. He followed an MRI. It seems like his status is up in the air. They're playing the Raiders. And if I were the Commanders, and again, Jaden Daniels is on my fantasy team, and it's going to pay me to say this, but if there's any concerns, even 1% concern, go with Marcus Mariota. You're playing the Raiders. You're probably still going to get the win. Probably. Jalen Johnson, the Pro Bowl cornerback for the Bears, he's going to be out for a little while. That's a high panic level because you already have a defense that really can't seem to stop anybody. So, and you have an offense that can't score. So to stay in the games, you need a good defense, and he's a Pro Bowler. He had missed training camp the preseason in Week 1 with a groin injury, and then he made his debut in Week 2 with that same groin injury. So, again, probably rushed back a little bit. Alex Highsmith, the linebacker from the Pittsburgh Steelers, suffered a high ankle sprain, might be out this week. Again, Steelers are, I don't think they're going to end up being a playoff team. I don't think. So, this is what it is. But they have given up 30 points in the past 2 weeks. So, taking out a starter is obviously not going to help the case. Robert Hunt, offensive lineman, tore his left bicep. He was coming off a Pro Bowl season. On injured reserve. That's not going to help Bryce Young. Let's see. Austin Eckler, obviously out. That didn't happen. That happened this past week, but he's on injured reserve. Now you're going back to a very young backfield. So, again, taking weapons away from Jaden Daniels. Cooper Beebe, the center from the Dallas Cowboys. Again, expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. from an offensive line that has normally been pretty good. Now you're talking about, hey, we got a whole different system going on now. Kyle Van Noy and Marlon Humphrey both out. Marlon Humphrey, you have some guys to kind of replace him. Kyle Van Noy has been kind of the heart and soul of a defense. So now you're talking about rookie Mike Green, who again had off the field issues, dropped to the second round. Great pickup for them in the draft. So we'll see what he has. Not a long-term injury for J.J. McCarthy, as we mentioned. Ankle sprain. Probably not going to play this week. Aaron Jones hasn't been really the best running back on the team, so Patrick Surtain from the Denver Broncos, this seems like this will be a more optimistic kind of view for him, but I think he's going to be in decent shape coming back. So, again, with all these injuries and stuff like that for the NFL, my question is why we've changed all these rules to prevent injuries to quarterbacks. You can't hit them above the shoulders. You can't hit them below the waist or grab onto his knees or whatever. Yet somehow we still have Joe Burrow with a turf toe. So now you can't touch their feet is the next thing. You're going to have injuries. I grew up at a time where, yes, I like the big hits. And yes, do I want people to have brain problems in 10 years from now? No. But this is also the National Football League. The injuries are going to happen. So can we stop changing rules for all this different, oh, well, we don't want guys to get hurt. And again, they're going to say it as safety. They're going to say it all the time as player safety. And again, I want players to be safe. I want to, yes, everybody should be able to play all 16 games. But that's just not the way the world works in sports. You're going to get injuries. Jaden Reed was another one from week 1 that he undergoes clavicle and foot surgeries. He's going to be out for a while. It's just we're running into injuries no matter what happens. No matter what, this is what's going to happen. So let's stop making it harder for teams to operate. Let's stop making it so hard for defenses to even touch somebody. We understand the defenseless receiver. We understand the just crawling on the ground and lunging at somebody's knee or chop blocking or any of those things that could injure a person and deal a blow to their livelihood. We get all that. But the helmet to helmet stuff, we get that. We've made advances in helmets. We've made advances in a lot of different things. You're never going to prevent concussions. Never. There's always going to be somebody that gets a concussion every year. You're never going to prevent a knee injury or an ankle injury or anything else like that. That's always going to happen. We're eventually just going to get to two-hand touch. I think that's, and again, it's not anything that's here around the corner or anything else like that. But the way that we're going, it's eventually going to just end up that way. And I don't think anybody wants that. And again, that'll be far and beyond anything that I won't be talking on this podcast. I'll probably be in a loony bin somewhere at that point in time. But let's pump the brakes on all the rule changes. The kickoffs have changed. And you're starting to talk about legacies of people and broken records and all these different things, which are all still amazing, but you've made it so much easier to achieve them, in my opinion. The only thing that you haven't done is made any sort of changes to, the only thing that you've made it harder is for kickoff returns. And we still saw one. Great. We've seen kickoffs returns elevate from one year to the next. Awesome. But I mean, you just made it that much more difficult for things to be achieved in that aspect. But for everything else, you made it a ton easier. You made it so much easier. So, some other news. Kyle Raleigh passes Mickey Mantle and ties Ken Griffey Jr. He hit 55 and 56 yesterday. Ties the Mariner mark. The Seattle catcher hit his 56th home run in the second inning against the Kansas City Royals, sending him past Mantle's mark for a switch hitter that stood since 1961. Then Raleigh hit his 56th in the next inning, matching the club record that Griffey first established in 1997. Big dumper. probably, again, not the nickname that you want associated with these records, but I mean, we still got some baseball to play. He's going to break that record unless he just doesn't play for the rest of the time. But I think he's my MVP still because they're still in the playoff hunt, even though you have the Red Sox, the Yankees, and all these different teams in front of them, or they're tied. They're tying the Astros for the West. So it's really cool to me that a catcher is still being able to do all this different stuff and everything else. But here we are talking about a catcher that is now hit his 56th home run. And again, we're going to look at the standings real quick. We did this earlier, but as of right now, the Red Sox are on the outside looking in. They just lost to the A's yesterday 2-1 with one of their rookie pitchers pitching excellent again. They're 2 games behind the Yankees. They're a half game behind the Astros. And Seattle is in the lead for the West. I believe it's half a game. Yes, they're in the lead for the half game. So again, he's my MVP. If the Yankees are not winning the AFC East, then I don't care about putting them as MVPs or Aaron Judge or anything else like that. Seattle isn't supposed to be where they are. And Cal Raleigh has made that possible. And again, there's been other pieces too. Don't get me wrong. It's not just him. But that's the cool part of the MLB, and we're getting very close to the playoffs. We're about 20 games away or so. So, again, we're going to see how this all boils down to. They just ruled out Justin Fields, as I'm reading it right now. It just popped up. It'll be Tyrod Taylor against the Bucks. Sorry, Jets fans. Again, not that Tyrod Taylor is horrible. He's a serviceable quarterback. He'll make a few mistakes. He's not the mistakeless type of backup, but he has some different elements to him. Same thing as kind of Justin Fields. He can run the ball. I think Tyrod Taylor probably can throw the ball a little bit better. Not by much. But he's still the same dynamic on offense. More of a bigger veteran. He's been around longer. He's 36, so 10 years older. He's been around since 2011. So that's kind of the breaking news for right now. WNBA playoffs are underway. We have 2 series that are 1-1. In the Las Vegas Aces and the Seattle Storm are 1-1 going into Game 3. Game 2 for the Minnesota Lynx, who are the favorite to win it, are up 1-0 over the Golden State Valkyries. The Fever came back and won, so the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever, without Caitlin Clark, they're 1-1. And the Phoenix Mercury and the New York Liberty are up 1-0. So that's kind of where we are with the WNBA playoffs. And again, it'd be interesting to see what the numbers are for TV and stuff like that, because the big negotiation at the end of the year, as I've mentioned a couple of times. But that's kind of where we are in sports right now. There's a whole background, and I'll get into it in another show, because I've been doing some research to do some investigative journalism, if you will. But the Kawhi Leonard situation with the Clippers, where he got paid basically under the table to skirt the NBA, NBA salary cap. There we go. I'll figure it out eventually. The NBA salary cap is astonishing to me, because if they're doing it, probably not the only team. There can't be just one franchise that's doing this. This isn't Spygate where everybody's going to point everything at the Patriots and no other team's doing it. We know that other teams are doing it. It's just there has to be a scapegoat. There has to be the first one caught always gets the major penalties, and the Clippers are in that position. The Clippers now, there's a story that just came out about 5 hours ago inside the tumultuous Kawhi Leonard era in Los Angeles. Apparently, they're done building around Kawhi Leonard. When Steve Ballmer bought this team, they had some money that was being plugged into all this different stuff. And, again, we'll get into all this. But when we get closer to the NBA, we'll talk about this with probably Dan and Ian, because they'll know just as much. But, it's a no-show job, mob-style no-show job for Kawhi Leonard. They got paid extra money that they promised him, so that way they could pay him X amount and stay under the salary cap. Again, cheating at its finest. But we'll see what happens. But with that, again, please visit us at loftsidebanter.com. That's loftsideBantr.com. Loftsidebanter@gmail.com. Some exciting stuff. I've talked about card sales and stuff. Like you can see some behind me. It's kind of how I keep this kind of going. It will be Cardside Collectibles will be the part of this that you'll see. That's where we actually have our first card show coming up in October. So we'll be in person to do that. And again, this is how we're going to afford to keep doing video and everything else like that. So we have a Whatnot. It's under Top of 2012, which is just a nickname I had as a kid. Why 2012? Don't know. I've always put 2012. But that is the Whatnot. If you have that app, you can go on there and you can find a whole different bunch of collectibles. Sports collectibles, Labubus. That's the new big thing, I guess, right now. Disney stuff, Legos, all that different stuff on there. You can go on and you can bid on and stuff like that. It's more focused on stuff right now. Instead of eBay doing it over a week, you're doing this over, you could be doing a 15-second auction. So you can get some deals and stuff like that. And I, as a kid, collected a lot of cards, and my grandfather left me a bunch of cards and stuff like that. So the ones that I've picked up through now are ones that I'm looking to either add to a few to my personal collection. I got a patch, and a patch on a card is part of a jersey or something like that of Tim Wakefield, who was my favorite Red Sox ever because of the knuckleball and stuff like that. And unfortunately, he's passed away. So that was something that I added to my personal collection and stuff like that. So again, we'll put that stuff up on the website. I just haven't gotten around to it, so that way you guys can go to it. Please check us out. We do. I do a card show once a week on Saturdays, and like I said, we'll be at a card show in Massachusetts come October. So I'll give more details to that a little bit later, and we'll be talking to card sellers. We'll be talking to card shows and everything else like that to help promote all that different stuff as well. So again, thank you everybody. We'll see you for the next one, and we'll take a look at week 3 of the NFL, and then anything that comes up with sports. All right, have a good one.